The good and the bad, and I'll start with the bad. The line that Ambassador Locke would often use when he was meeting with Chinese officials was, he would quote Vice President Biden, who would often say, there's nothing worse than an unintentional conflict. You know, a conflict you don't want, but that circumstances lead you to shoot at each other, right? And the circumstances that you have around the islands right now have some of those ingredients, right? You have Japanese and Chinese forces showing their physical presence in very close proximity, sometimes not with the best command and control, allowing for miscalculation or an over-aggressive commander or a side swipe or a collision or something, you know, where someone gets hurt and then that escalates further. That's a problem. At the same time, you have domestic political forces, which you referenced and Tom referenced as well, that are being stoked for political gain in both countries. I remember going to a university, Nanjing University, and meeting a bunch of students, and what struck me, and we were talking about China-Japan, this is about a year and a half ago, and I forget what was going on, but it was in the headlines. And what struck me was that the students who were 20-some-odd years old, when we asked them the question, what do you think is going to happen here? They said, I don't see how a war can be avoided. You don't want that generation thinking that. And it struck me actually that the students were more hot-headed about it than their teachers were.
It's very difficult to think about, but I think most, let me put it to you this way, friends and colleagues still at the Pentagon fear that the top levels of the PLA and their patrons, the People's Liberation Army, and their patrons in the party are getting very cocky about their capabilities. And they haven't fought a war since 1979, which they lost to Vietnam. And they may be getting overly cocky. And when you see things like this massive exercise that went through all the straits of Japan and Taiwan and the Philippines, and they talk openly about dismembering the first island chain, you know, I shudder a little bit as to what China thinks it's doing.
I think we've seen examples in the past where particularly maybe the PLA Navy, without instruction from the center, before it gets instruction from the center, has been willing to sort of elbow its way around a little bit. But my sense is that when those issues have become national issues, the central leadership, while it is not about to retreat, and while we know Xi Jinping has a very strong view about China becoming a maritime power, one does not see sort of irresponsibly aggressive behavior. One sees